Hello, and welcome to the Illinois LawCast, a podcast about the wisdom, wit, and curiosity of the University of Illinois College of Law. I'm your host, Chris Davies, and my guest this episode is Lisa Kpor. A 2014 graduate of the College of Law, Kpor worked 8 years at Holland Knight in commercial litigation and entertainment law before moving to United Airlines in 2023, where she serves as litigation counsel. We discussed her path through law school and her passion for mentoring, which led us to her latest venture, the Monday Mentoring Moment newsletter. Kpor was kind and generous with her time, and I'm certain you will enjoy our conversation as much as I did. Lisa Kpor, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me this afternoon.
Yeah, and I was reading a little bit about your background. You grew up in Newport News, and you always had this goal of being a lawyer since a very young age. Is that correct?
That's right. I was 11 years old when I first decided I wanted to become an attorney.
And not just an attorney, you had even higher aspirations than that?
That's true. So I was 11 years old, and my dad's brother, one of my uncles, he asked me, what did I want to be when I grow up? And I told him a United States Senator. And at the time, I was living in project housing, low-income housing in Newport News, Virginia, with my mom, a single parent. And he kind of looked at me flabbergasted. What did you say? A United States Senator? Okay. So we mapped out my life at 11 years old and all of the steps that it would take to become a United States Senator. And one of those things was becoming an attorney or an accountant or a business professional. And ultimately, I selected the legal route.
Now, do you still want to be a senator, or have you found enough in your career as a lawyer?
I think that desire is definitely still there. But I do have children, and so it's many, many years off. I don't see anything happening within the next 10 to 15 years. We would love to get them out of high school and so on and so forth and established in their own right, especially under the current political climate and all the things that go on with becoming an elected official.
Sure. Well, let's talk about your journey to becoming a lawyer and to the position that you hold at United now. You went to Oberlin College, and you got interested in, obviously you were already interested in becoming a lawyer, but you got into a program there that kind of helped you set the path to law school.
Are you talking about the Sidley Austin Pre-Law Scholars Program?
Yeah, that helped you with your LSAT prep and applications?
Yes, indeed. Oh, wow. That was a long time ago. So yes, when I was at Oberlin, I was researching many opportunities to help me get into law school. As you can probably guess, based on my humble upbringings, I did not have a significant amount of money to apply to law school, to pay for the LSAT, to submit law school applications, and all of the things that go with the law school admissions process. There's a lot of kind of hidden fees that aren't obvious to those who might be submitting applications. So I did some searching and found out about the Sidley Austin Pre-Law Scholars Program. I'm not sure if they still have it today. I know it's 2026. But back then it was a godsend. I submitted my application, I got accepted, and I had a free LSAT prep class because of that program. They gave me funding for most of my law school applications. They actually sent me out on kind of like a retreat the summer before law school to teach me about outlining, to meet lawyers, to look over my resume. I met former United States Seventh Circuit appellate court Judge Ann Claire Williams in her chambers in the Dirksen Federal Courthouse in Chicago. They wined and dined us at some of the best restaurants in the city of Chicago. So I truly am indebted to that program for launching and helping to launch my legal career. And
you obviously are someone who does their homework. You knew at 11 the path that you wanted to take. So I assume you did a lot of research on schools. What brought you then to Illinois law?
Yeah, so it's It's really funny. I went down to the basement last night and went into one of my memory boxes that's related to law school to kind of remind myself of all of the reasons why I chose Illinois in preparation for speaking with you today. And there were so many reasons. One, at the time that I applied, we were one of the top 25 law schools in the country. So that meant a lot to me. I had several columns on an Excel spreadsheet with all of the different law schools that I had applied to. But the class sizes mattered. The amount of diversity at the law school mattered. The bar passage rates mattered. The prominence of University of Illinois alumni in Chicago at some of the best firms in the country, that mattered to me. And then there were smaller things that mattered to me as well. And I say small, but in the grand scheme of things, they were instrumental in my daily life. I wrote a why Illinois essay. And in that essay, I talked about how the Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District was a really, really great thing for me. And I knew as a prospective student who didn't have a car, who didn't have many resources, that getting transported from class to my apartment, that was going to be important for me to do that at no cost. So the ability for students to have free access to public transit was important. I ultimately met my husband, and he worked for CUMTD at the time when I was a law student. So it actually mattered more than I thought. But yeah, there were so many things that attracted me to the U of I. And I have one other thing that I found in my memory box downstairs, and it's really, really adorable. But as a law student, me and Sade, one of my classmates, we were kind of featured in a Chicago Daily Law Bulletin news article. And the article is headlined, Black Law Students Find Camaraderie with Association. And so it talks about the Black Law Students Association. And I am quoted as saying one of the reasons why I chose the U of I think it was March 12th of 2011. I actually went to the Balsa banquet, the Balsa alumni banquet for the University of Illinois College of Law. And I met so many current students, graduating students, alumni, and I fell in love with the university at that time. And I'm quoted as saying, that was the thing that sealed the deal. I felt myself being able to fit into a community somewhere. It's a safe space where we can be ourselves and we know we won't be judged. So that was my way of just talking about my experience, choosing the University of Illinois, loving the Black Law Students Association, feeling like it was a home for me. So there were so many reasons. I could go on for days.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. I'm just wondering, those were reasons why you chose Illinois. How did it live up to your expectations then? I know you were very involved while you were here, so I assume that you had a pretty good experience.
I did. So I used to call myself, or actually, I don't know if I came up with this name or if someone else did. I was known as 1L of a mama during my first year of law school. And I was the SBA 1L representative in 1L. So that basically means that I was the voice for the 1L class when it came to the student body relationship between the administration and how the students were feeling, things that needed to be changed and thought about, and how we could be supported at the peer pubs and things like that. But I did debates. I did different competitions, negotiations competitions. I was able to be in a legal clinic that I deeply valued and still use many of those things that I learned to this day. So it definitely lived up to what I had hoped that I would receive in a legal education. And I am very proud to be an alum of the University of Illinois College of Law.
And you knew coming in that you wanted to work in litigation?
I did know. So from an early age, I'm one of those young ladies who love to solve jigsaw puzzles. I loved debate and forensics in college and in high school. I think I was in the Model United Nations in high school. So the idea of bringing some of those skills to a courtroom and litigating cases, arguing motions, and federal court, state court. Those things kind of excited me about the law. And at the end of the day, it's all about problem solving and mitigating risks. And those things also resonated with me.
Yeah. And how did your education here at Illinois help you to achieve that goal of becoming a litigator?
In many ways. So one of the things that law schools are designed to do is to change your ability to think critically. And I definitely sharpened that skill at the U of I. I can remember many courses where I didn't understand initially why we were doing things the way that the professors were suggesting they be done. And then I started practicing law and drafting complaints and drafting motions. And I understood, oh, now I get it. This is why headings are so important. This is why subheadings are so valuable, and organizing your legal briefs, your memoranda. This is why it's essential. If you don't get these foundational skills as a law student, it becomes that much more difficult to excel as an attorney later on.
What are some of your more treasured memories, either from your work with professors, students, and organizations?
There are several. One of them is when we had the 20th annual Balsa banquet in Chicago, Illinois. That was the first time in several years that Illinois Balsa had actually moved their banquet from Champaign to Chicago. So it was a massive effort to get that done. And we had it at the Knickerbocker Hotel, which is stunning, absolutely stunning. Have you ever been?
I have, actually. My brother-in-law was married there.
Okay. Yeah. So you know how beautiful the banquet hall actually is. It's spectacular. It was a wonderful event. And then we had kind of like I'll say the word after party because it was after the banquet. So I'll use that term loosely. But we had a chance to kind of connect with alums and one another after the formal banquet programming as well. And it was just such a well executed event. So that's definitely a highlight. In addition to that, I ran a 5K while I was at Illinois through the Christie Clinic Illinois Marathon. Mm-hmm. And that was so much fun. Myself and one other law student did that. I still have kind of my running bib somewhere in this room from my memory box. So that was a highlight for me. And there's just so many other memories I have. There were a lot of peer pubs that I would attend. And there was one where I sang at and performed. And then I also love to cook. So I can remember making pots of soup, whether it was a pot of black eyed pea soup or tomato lentil soup with turkey. And I would just bring the entire pot and like paper plates, spoons, biscuits, and I would just sit in the lobby. And whoever from my class wanted to grab a bowl of soup, they would get soup and we would talk and we would chat and we would sit. And then, of course, the classes that I had, the government secrecy class, which was extremely fascinating and kind of helped us delve into so many things with respect to the Fourth Amendment and other amendments to the Constitution and many of the classified conversations that are happening and the way that we disseminate information to our citizenry. My property law class with Professor Hamilton, who went on to become a dean of one of the law schools in the United States. That was a fantastic course. So it was just a lot of things, both academically and socially, that I truly enjoyed about my time at the University of Illinois.
And after graduating, you moved on to Holland Knight, where you did commercial litigation, but also entertainment law.
I did.
Yeah. What are some of the things that are similar and different between those two areas? Because they seem like they have some significant differences.
They do. There are many differences. So my prior entertainment practice, when I was in private practice, was essentially related to the negotiation of several contracts. So it was more transactional in nature. And already that means it's very different from litigation, which is court pleadings, court filings, lawsuits, dispute resolution. So it definitely was different, but there were some of the themes that remain the same throughout. So no matter what, regardless of whether you are handling and managing a lawsuit or managing a deal, you need to be organized. You need to know how to problem solve when, the parties are not aligned on what next step should be or what a provision should say or what the deal terms should be. And you need to be able to anticipate needs, communicate well. So some of those fundamental soft skills are embedded throughout. And then occasionally we would have matters where there was an entertainment matter that ripened into litigation. So there are similarities and differences for sure.
And then you moved to United Airlines in 2024. Is that correct?
23.
I'm sorry. Well, can you tell me just a little bit about your role there and what you're doing with United?
Yeah, so I'm litigation counsel with United Airlines. And as litigation counsel, I manage several of our pending litigation throughout the country and globe. And I also advise business units with respect to some of the matters that arise internally at United Airlines. So it's never a dull moment. They keep us very busy, but it's also exciting and rewarding as well.
Great. And then switching from a private practice firm to a public company like United, was that a difficult switch for you? It was hard to transition away from being in a private practice?
I would say no. So I have often said that my transition was seamless, and it truly, truly was. Before I talk about my transition, though, I want to encourage anyone that's making a transition to take a vacation between jobs. I did that. My whole family went to Hawaii for about a week before I started working at United and absolutely loved it. So I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, the team that I work on at United Airlines is fantastic, very professional, very hardworking, very organized, very diligent. And then, if there are any gaps that we need to have filled with respect to a certain area of law or a certain type of procedural step that we may want to take, we have our outside counsel, which is also a fantastic team of attorneys and a fantastic panel of attorneys throughout the country, throughout the world, who assist us with resolving many of the matters that come my way.
That's great. You gave some advice there at the beginning, which leads me to my next question, which is about you giving back. And one of the most important things, it seems like for you, is mentorship. And I was wondering why that's such an important part of your life.
Yeah, so there are many reasons, and it really starts at the beginning. I would not be exactly where I am today without everything aligning perfectly, without many of the mentors that I had guiding me in my next steps. But I wish that I had mentors as a junior attorney. Mm-hmm. I had great mentors and figured out a lot of things for myself once I was more experienced as an attorney. But I think I could have perhaps been even farther along in my career or been at an even better stage or better equipped as an attorney had I had mentors in those very early formative years. So I do mentor quite a few people, both formally and informally. And that's my way of giving back. I currently have 6 mentees formally assigned to me. One of them through the LCLD program, mentoring program, one through the United Airlines Career Connections program, one through the Posse Foundation, and 3 through BWLA.
What about mentoring is so helpful, is so important for you?
Important for me, I think it's making an impression and an impact on the next generation of lawyers at a time where that support is not always obviously given or available. Mm-hmm. So imagine me sitting here now and telling you I'm an attorney at a Fortune 500 global airline, and I think I could have been even better with more mentorship. It is just such a critical tool to enhance the careers of everyone, regardless of your industry. And I think that's one of the reasons why apprenticeships were so important in a certain area or an era of our history. And we've kind of lost some of that. And so, yeah, I think it's so important, so valuable. And I'll give you one example of how it provided value to me. Once upon a time, I met a young lady at a networking function, and she was in undergrad and just happened to be attending a women's initiative program. And I'm not going to say her name, but she was just, her first impressions, or the first impression that she gave me, was that she was brilliant, she was eager, ready to learn, dynamic, and that she was going to go places. And so I connected with her immediately on LinkedIn after the event. And she reached out to me, periodically after we connected initially. And then she posted her degree online once she completed her education and received her degree. And someone at Holland Knight saw her post because I liked it, and then it came to their feed, and they said, "Lisa, we actually have an open position in the marketing department. Can you please connect us with her and see whether she's interested?" And she ended up working alongside me as one of my colleagues, helping me, to draft some of the LinkedIn things and marketing things that I was working on when I was a lawyer at Holland Knight. So it just kind of goes to show you that you never know what impact you might have, who you might help, how someone might help you, what the importance of being a connector might be. And you just never know. So if I have an opportunity to make an impact, if I have time, I'm going to do it.
And having time seems like maybe the hardest part, because you're a very busy person. You mentioned your kids, your job. You also started a newsletter, the Monday Mentoring Moment newsletter. And I just looked at it this morning, almost 500 subscribers, and you've only released one of them. That's pretty impressive. Congratulations.
I'm super excited. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And it seems like the story that you just told and those kinds of lessons is what you want to impart through those newsletters. Is that correct?
That's right. So I am currently at a stage where I'm getting more requests to review resumes, to provide guidance, to help with, the job application process for law students. And I'm not able to adequately respond to everyone. And so I was trying to figure out a way, how can I continue to provide insight, provide advice, provide tips and tricks without necessarily meeting with everyone one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And I know that everyone's needs are different, and that sometimes you require that personal touch, that personalization, that one-on-one talk. But I did want to have a platform where I could share some of the things that I've learned over the years with the next generation of attorneys, with the next generation of business professionals generally, regardless of whether they're in aviation, finance, or some other industry. So I thought about it long and hard, and I said, you know what? There's these LinkedIn newsletters. Why not try? Why not try it, figure out if people want to continue listening? But for the next 11 months, I've already done January. For the next 11 months, I'm going to continue to publish newsletters that offer fresh insight based on my experience, but also that highlights some things that many people know, but they need reminders, or things that experienced lawyers and experienced professionals know, but they don't think to share with junior attorneys and those new, fresh, young business professionals that are just entering their careers.
I think that sounds really interesting and like a great use of your skills and a way to give back too.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm really excited for next month, and I hope that that number continues to increase and that people find value in what I'm saying.
Yeah. You mentioned next month's newsletter. Is there anything in there that you'd like to talk about and tease a little bit?
Sure, sure. So next month, I'm going to be talking about how to harness deep empathy in order to make better first impressions in interviews and in networking conversations. And it's kind of what I mentioned earlier. Some of these things people know, whether they're, 10 years out from, getting their degree or whether they just started. But this will serve as a refresher and a reminder. But it's also going to be talking about some things that people may not know or may not realize, which is that using empathy can go a long way in making a positive first impression.
You mentioned empathy. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that is and how it's possible in an interview when you're meeting someone for the first time?
Yeah. So I'll tell you about a pitch meeting that I attended a few years back when I was in private practice. I knew that I was going to be pitching a Grammy Award-winning artist, and I knew that I wanted to make a positive first impression, not just for myself, but for the firm, in order for us to secure this business and this work and be retained for this particular matter. And so I didn't know it at the time, but my strategy was to use empathy in order to connect with this artist. I already knew who the person was, and I wanted to kind of break an initial barrier and have an image and an appearance that this person could instantly connect with. So I picked my outfit carefully. I spent hours doing my hair in a way that I thought that this person in particular would greatly appreciate. And then I did other things that I thought they would appreciate as well. And I think from the moment I stepped into the room, it was obvious that there was a level and a connection between me and this person that the other people in the room may not have had. And that person actually called me the closer in that meeting. So I think that there are so many ways that one can use deep empathy without even opening their mouths and preparing for both interviews, networking conversations, panel discussions, and everything that we do in our everyday lives.
That's great. Very, very interesting. Well, Lisa Kpor, thank you very much for joining the podcast. I really appreciate your time. You're obviously a very busy woman. So it was lovely to speak with you, and I'm looking forward to the next newsletter.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And I wish you the most success with the Illinois LawCast.
Thank you. Thank you again to Lisa Kpor for being a guest on the podcast. You can find a link to the Monday Mentoring Moment newsletter in the show notes in case you would like to learn more or subscribe. Thank you to our listeners for making time in your day for the Illinois LawCast. If you have any comments or suggestions, please email us at podcast@law.illinois.edu. Illinois LawCast is available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. This episode was recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Chris Davies. Special thanks to Kelly Moss for our album art and other graphics, and Krista Getke for her help in the editing process. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Illinois LawCast.